Welcome, Peter Vereecke, to my show. How are you today?
I am very excited to be in your show, and I greet all the fellow Europeans and most of all fellow humans. Yeah.
So you were just saying to me before we started recording that for 20 years now you've been considered to be perhaps the most well-known conspiracy theorist in Belgium.
Yes, I have this reputation. For some, it's positive. For the most, it's somewhat negative because when I am invited to give lectures on musical topics like Bach and Beethoven and Mozart and Leonard Cohen and Edith Piaf, sometimes there is a little bit of discussion because, well, do we really want such a person who is really mentally not very well to have as a speaker? But when I get the chance to do my presentation, it always ends very well. Yeah,
I think that that's normal. I mean, I have it every day. People
yeah,
ridicule, and I
yeah,
think that that's a natural reaction because so many
yes.
people don't want to know the truth about things because it shatters their world.
Yeah, but when they say to me, "You're a conspiracy thinker," I say, "Yes, that's right," because as a result of my research, I think there is a great conspiracy against us, and I think it's important to see that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
today, the research we're going to be looking at is what you've been uncovering with the music from and the band themselves, the Beatles.
Yes, it's going to be very dramatic because I will have to kill one of my darlings, one of my favorites. The four people I always looked up to. Well, if you do your research, you see that the official story, the fairy tale story, is not the reality. There is so much to say about the Beatles, really. Yeah.
So what made you start looking into the Beatles? What you obviously you said you're a fan when we first
Yes,
spoke for 50 years, but
my first presentation was in 1903, and it was about the Beatles. And then it was 20 years later that I did the research again, but now with different glasses. Nothing is what it seems to be, and nothing just happens by accident or naturally or organically. When you look at the phenomenon of the Beatles, it is, as Davy Jones of the Monkees said it was the first manufactured group. And when I first heard that, I said, this can't be true. The Beatles are the real thing. No, but I did my research, and he was right. Yeah.
and the monkeys were also manufactured, weren't they?
Well, as a matter of fact, the Monkees were launched in the autumn of '66 to replace the Beatles as the boys band.
Yeah.
Because from that moment on, the Beatles were having another function, another image, and they were serving another goal. Yeah.
So you've got a presentation you'd like to share with
Yeah.
us.
So, okay, I will do this right. So, if everything is all right, you must now see the first slide of my presentation where I took the people on a magical history tour. And then 20 years later, I took another look, and it became a critical history tour because, as I said, nothing is what it seems to be, and nothing happens by accident. So I've done my research putting my Club L glasses on, and Club L is the term I use for the elite, the secret
Yes.
government, and all the people around it, the whole construct that is above us.
Why
And I,
Club L?
What?
Sorry,
Club,
Peter. What Club L? Why Club L?
Club L. L is the Hebrew word for God, and it's also the first letter of Lucifer, the one who claims to be or who wants to be the God of this world, and who wants us to serve him and to worship him. So I invite people to think critically, symbolically, and occult, to have the eyes open for all the signs that there are to see.
Yes.
Because there is an elite and they have a plan. We call it the New World Order. And if you study the people, the Beatles, you get the proof that such an elite and such a plan really exists.
Right.
You know, our society is a kind of pyramidal
Yes.
structure. And the Beatles, when we talk about music, are really on the top. And the question I asked myself, how did they get there? Was it
Mm.
just because they were so talented and because of coincidence and so on? So I really wanted to know the truth. And I would like to start this presentation because I have times 3 hours where with all the details and all the items that I cover. I will make a selection.
Yes.
And first, I wanted to delve into the name of the
Okay.
Beatles, because it's not evident. The first time the Beatles appeared was in the Cabbage Coffee Club. That was a cafe of the mother of Pete Best, who was their drummer at that time.
Right.
And they painted a cellar room they called the Aztec room with all kinds of occult symbols. So starting in '59, the first time the Beatles as a name appeared, it was then switched to Beatles. For a time, it became a long, tall John and the Silver Beatles. And from Hamburg, where they have been 2 years, it became the Beatles as we know it. And it was a
Right.
kind of a problem because in German, Beatles, that means is a slang word for the penis.
Oh. Oh dear. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
ladies and gentlemen, here they are, the Beatles.
God.
Yeah. And when they tried to get the attention in London, which was the center of the music industry, they said, well, with such a name, can't be possible. But they stuck to it, and there are other explanations. It was like Buddy Holly and the Crickets, the Beatles then. And in '54, there was a famous movie. I don't remember the name, with Marlon Brando,
Yeah.
of two motorcycle gangs. And one was called the Beatles. And of course, the beat, the rhythm is also in the name. But I
Yeah.
said, there must be another more deep explanation to call a rock and roll band with the name of insects. And then I came in Egypt, where the name for beetle is scarabee. And a scarabee is a little creature that puts its eggs in the excrements of a camel and then pushes it with the rare feet from the east to the west. It's very important, from the east to the west. And there was also a god, which we see on many paintings and so on. It's called Kefri. And in their first film, A Hard Day's Night, we see this scene where three times a beetle is forming the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found out that the scarabee is a symbol that is very ancient and is known all throughout the world. And it stands for important things like death and resurrection, the genesis of our cosmos, the importance of the sun, the immortality and spirituality. And when you look at it from above, this is the picture of a scarabee, and this is our skull. And
Mm.
it's very much similar.
Yes.
And here we have Mr. A.C. Aleister Crowley, who's one of the leading Satanists. He wrote a book, many books, but one had as title The Winged Beetle. So it's no coincidence that Paul McCartney gave the name of Wings to his band, because there is a very strong connection with the person who now plays the role of Paul McCartney and Aleister Crowley. And you know the song Blackbird,
I do, yes.
singing in the dead of night. So he has to have been killed. He has to have been broken, and he has to learn to fly again. All your life, you were waiting for this moment to rise. And this moment is when the original, the biopole, was taken out and replaced by the person who had been prepared to take the role of Paul McCartney.
So
And
what
so
happened to the original Paul McCartney?
he was killed in an accident. And we'll come to that. And it was on a very special day. It was on the 11th of September, 9,
Oh, okay.
9/11 of the year
Mm,
1966.
yeah, I see it.
And a scarabee, a beetle, beneath the carcass has also wings. So he can fly, which means he's spiritual. Yeah. And then, of course, the name the beetle is also known for the scar.
Yeah.
And this was the first draft who was presented at this occasion. And you see the second from the left is our dear friend Adolf Hitler.
Mm.
And the person left is Mr. Ferdinand Porsche.
Mm.
And
Yes.
he was given the commission to develop a car for the people. So it was the car of the people, and the design is also the skull. And this is
Yes.
the logo of Volkswagen. And you see a V and a double V. And a V is the 22nd, and a double V is the 23rd, is 45. 4 plus 5 is 9, is eternal. And three ciphers are missing. It's the 3, the 6, and the 9, which we see in the triangle. And perhaps you know the saying, the quote of Nikola Tesla: if you want to have the key of the universe and to understand the universe, you must realize the importance of these three ciphers.
Yes.
And then when you add up the other ciphers, you come to 27, the club of 27, you know,
Yes.
young pop stars who died when they were 27, Brian Jones, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and so on. It's a 9, it's a lemniscate, it's also the sign of eternity. So this logo is very well thought of. And you not only have a car for the common people, but also for the elite. And that's a
I ha
thought.
I did have one of those.
Yes,
That car, yeah.
and what's the number?
Well, mine was, well, 911. 911.
9/11.
Yeah. The one I had was a 964 and then I had a 996, but yeah, I mean it is 911, yeah.
And well, that's not by coincidence,
No.
because the combination of 9 and 11 is in their religion and their symbology very, very important. So, conclusion: the Scarabee and the Beatles. It's no coincidence. There is a connection, And this means that the Beatles are really the favorites, the favorite symbol of Club L, of the elite. And this they show us everywhere by symbols to make clear that this group, the Beatles, is our group and they are serving our purposes. This is a quote of John Lennon. There were very few things that happened to the Beatles that weren't really well thought of.
Right.
And if you consider the seven letters of the name the Beatles, you can make all kind of combinations for names of Satan. You can find Baal, Beelzebub,
Yeah.
Baal, another name for Lucifer, Set from the Egyptian mythology, the beast in the Apocalypse of the Bible. And Beale Street is a famous street in Tennessee where the blues, who were from which rock and roll was derived, was created. So it's the street of the devil. And Beatles, if you are creative, you can see B at Club L, B at L, belong to Lucifer, so to say. Yeah.
Right.
So we know that the elite is really very fascinated by numbers, by objects, by colors, figures, mythology, astrology, and so on. And a symbol is more than what we think it is. There is information embedded in it, it's a code, and it's an energy. And this wise Chinese guy said it, it's signs and symbols who rule the world, not words and laws, because signs and symbols influence our subconscious.
Yes.
And most decisions are based on our subconscious, not our conscious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these symbols conceal for us and reveal for them the real meaning. Soli sacerdotibus, it's only clear for those in the know. Sacerdos is a priest, so someone who is enlightened, let's say, yeah. And then I want to focus on the producer, Martin. I forgot his name. Martin. George Martin. Yeah. Of course, he was a Freemason. They all are. First, he served in the army and then went to work for the BBC, who is a way for the Tavistock Institute to spread their messages. And maybe
Yeah.
it's important to say something about the Tavistock Institute. This is a very good book with the subtitle Social Engineering the Masses. So they want to influence our thoughts and our emotion and our behavior.
Yeah.
And it was them who really constructed this Beatle mania, this Beatle craziness. Because at first the Beatles weren't absolutely not special at all, but they created this image of something special and special feelings and so on. They created also in '64 the British invasion, right? Because it was not only the Beatles who invaded America, but also the Rolling Stones, the Animals, the Kinks, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they have on the other side of the canal in Germany the Frankfurt Schule, and what they call cultural Marxism. And this they aim to deconstruct everything that is beautiful and has meaning. And here are three important figures, and I point at a person in the middle, Theodor Adorno, because he played a very important part in the creation of the music of the Beatles, the lyrics and also the melodies.
So the
because I must disappoint maybe many people, but the Beatles, certainly the first 4 or 5 years, didn't write their own music. It was written for them. Yeah.
right.
And what very few people know is that George Martin also worked for the BBC in the radiophonic workshop, and that was yeah, there they tried to experiment with subliminal sounds. How sounds that we do not hear consciously have still effect. So he was busy with mind control. And in fact, shortly before he met the Beatles, he had a record, Time Beat, which was an experiment on uh, mind control through sounds. And they met on the 6th of June of 62, 6-6. And you see that all the time the importance of the number six,
Yes.
sex, hexa. It's also the sixth name in the Hebrew alphabet. It's the Va, Vau, Vau, Vau. And it stands for all the things I've said here. There is no God, it's the evil, it's the occult that's important, the black magic. In life, there's only a matter, and you have to fight for yourself. Six, the scarabee, the beetle has six legs, and worldwide web is VVV 666.
Yeah.
Yeah. George Martin was called the fifth Beatle, but it wasn't love at first hearing. In the first reaction, he thought their music was rubbish, but he was forced by the EMI to work with him. And in the memoirs, a book that I will speak about, he said to them, I have been ordered to transform your band, the Beatles, into the four-headed beast, the apocalypse, and you will be the greatest idols on the planet.
Who forced him? Do we know who forced him, Peter? When he says he was forced or ordered?
By the EMI, by the Freemasons, and by those who are above the Freemasons.
Right.
So the memoirs, the first book was published and it costed 26,66. And then 9 years later, it was an extended version of 33,33. Yeah. It has 666 pages. And 9 is the number because the first book was released 9th of September 2009, and then 9 years later, the second edition.
Wow.
And this has a ghostwriter, but the real author is the one who plays now the role of Paul McCartney.
Oh.
And I invite everyone, if you really want to know what the Beatles are and what really happened and what the lyrics are about, you have to read this book. It's so-called fiction, but it's the truth. A little bit concealed, not always 100% truth, but it's mainly the truth. Yeah.
And so Billy Shears actually wrote that himself.
Billy Shears or William Wallace Shepard. Yeah. But Billy Shears is the name who appeared at the beginning of the Sgt. Pepper LP. It was 20 years ago today. Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play, and let me introduce for you the one and only Billy Shears. You know that? Do
No, I
you?
didn't. No, I
Oh,
did not know that.
okay, yeah.
Wow.
A little bit about the EMI. it's a big company who gained a lot of money in the Second World War because they delivered radar and other communication systems to both sides. And then they concentrated on the music and television, which means the mainstream media, which means mind control. They
Yeah.
are one of the biggest companies. This is one of their subdivisions, the master's voice. We are all a little dog listening to the sounds we hear consciously and subconsciously. And they have their they are situated near Tavistock. And we
Right.
know Tavistock is funded by the Rothschilds, and I don't have to explain what the Rothschilds are. And
No, I think
MI5.
everyone knows. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they are all part of Club L. This is their manager, Brian Epstein. The father of Paul McCartney was a Freemason. The uncle of John Lennon, the man of Aunt Mimi, where he was raised, because his mother died when he was 14. He was Freemason. George Martin, Freemason. This is the attorney, Rex Bacon from Liverpool, Freemason. This is Sir Lockwood, the big boss of EMI, Freemason. Even the father of John Lennon was Freemason because he produced a single, and you see the checkerboard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The checkerboard is Freemason, and these are two
Ah,
figures, photos of Stu Clifford, who was with the Beatles in their Hamburg days. And you see him making the sign of the diamond.
yeah.
And this photograph, you see 3 times 6. So, yeah. So they have to show it to everyone. They belong to Club L. They all make these kind of signs, even Hitler. And also the Beatles, we have different pictures of them with their hands. And
Oh,
this,
okay.
yeah. Here they give a handshake to a mayor or someone. Here they shake their hands in this
Oh,
Freemason way, and they have
yes, I
this
see that. Yes, well, 20
special look.
years. I was in the Freemasons for 20 years, so I recognize the grip. We call it a
Yeah,
grip, and I
yeah,
recognize that. But
yeah,
I no longer go, Peter. I haven't been for many years, but I'm not welcome anymore. But I recognize a Masonic handshake or grip when I see one, and there it
yeah.
is.
And also the sign of be quiet,
Yeah,
don't spill the secrets. And they all
yeah.
do that. They all do that. Here we have Paul McCartney with all different signs like the monkeys. I don't see
Mm,
anything. I don't hear anything. I don't speak. Here we have with the one eye symbol.
mm,
And here we have him as a kind of magician.
mm,
Later on, with the wings, Linda is making the sign of the compass and the square of the
mm,
Freemasons. They make the sign of the 666. Yeah, telling everyone, we are one of them. And it can be very subliminal. This is also a picture from the Hard Day's Night. And you see the inside of a hexagram. A hexagon.
yes.
And in a certain scene of Hard Day's Night, John Lennon sniffs from a coke. So introducing the whole drug scene.
Yeah.
And then we have this special past masters where they put together all the singles that weren't on a piece. It was launched on the 9th of September of 2009. It was 33 numbers, black and white. And a master is the one who presides a lodge.
Yeah, the past
And
master is, yeah, after they've been in the chair, they've been the master for a year. The following year,
yeah,
when they're replaced, they are the
yeah,
past master. Yeah.
yeah. And then this was their first single, who was launched on the 11th of September, 9/11. This was their first LP. We see the inside of the EMI building, and we see the inside of a pyramid
Yeah.
without the top stone. It has six flats, six floors. And we are invited to look up to our new heroes who are on their way to the top. And the release was on the 22nd of March of 63. March 322. And then we have the link with the skull and
Yeah.
bones. And the false flag in Brussels in 2015, it was also 322. Every major event you find these figures all over the place. Coronavirus, C is the third letter and V is the 22nd. CV.
Wow.
Their second LP was started at 9/11, and it was launched on the 22nd of November. If you add that up, you come to 33. It was on that day that JFK was killed. And it was on that day that the Beatles were for the first time shown on television in
So that
preparation for their arrival in February of 64.
the same. So that was the same date as JFK.
Yeah. And you see the cover is black and white.
Yeah.
And they all have one eye in the shadows.
Yeah.
Yeah. All-seeing eye. So all major musicians have this one-eye symbolism. They have to do that. So that means they are mind controlled. They don't think and act according to their own thoughts and will.
Yeah.
When we have, for instance, in 64, a compilation album, you understand compilation? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. You see them with umbrellas. And an umbrella is a symbol for the skull and the how do you call that, the central nerve axis, how do you call that,
Yeah. So our central nervous system.
yeah, okay. So it's also a symbol of mind control. This is a scene from the film Help. Ringo is shown he's being mind controlled, George in a cage, here Paul in a cage. And if you ask the question, do they realize the game they're in? This is a quote of John Lennon. I am part of a club of mystics who had been initiated into the same spiritual club.
Right.
And if Paul McCartney is asked in this interview, what are your plans? I don't know, I'm just doing it. Yeah. And then this quote, it's done by John Lennon in 1966, and guy, by 2012. Who knew the importance of this date in 66? By 2012, the masses, we, will be where we are today, and Paul should be Jesus by then. So they know that the figure of Paul within the construct of the Beatles is given a very special central role and importance. And then on the 22nd of June, there was a sensational news. The Beatles were were giving the MBE. They were a member of the British Empire,
Yeah.
so they were knighted, member of the British Empire, members and puppets of Club L. And then I want to switch to Paul McCartney. You know this quote, there's a shadow hanging over me.
Yeah.
In the song Yesterday. What could that shadow be? Because he was famous, he was rich, he was having girls, 10 on every finger. But the fact is that starting from this day, he was having nightmares. that were telling him that his days were counted. And he had all kinds of visions with a car, with a girl, rain, an accident, and something terrible that would happen to his head. And they made him clear through these dreams that he himself must also be part in the search for a replacer. So that is very strange. I wanted to know the explanation for these weird kind of dreams. And here we are looking at a house. Everyone who does the Beatle tour in London is invited to step out. It's in the Wimpole Street, and you know what Paul is, Wimpole, Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
It's a medical quarter where there are clinics and all professors and so on. And this is the house of the Ashers. And Paul McCartney was beginning from the end of '64 at home with the Ashers because of this pretty girl for who he wrote, "I Want to Hold Your Hand." And the Rolling Stones said, "I want to spend the night together." But
Yes.
the Beatles were the polite side. Yeah. It was Jane Asher, 4 years younger than Paul, a very beautiful girl, a little bit like Brigitte Bardot.
Yes.
And even growing older, she stayed a beautiful woman. She was from her early days, 3, 4 years, a child star in film and on stage. So she was prepared, like Judy Garland and like many others. She was the official fiancée of Paul. Her papa was a doctor and her mama was a professor. Let's delve deeper into that. This is the Papa Asher. This was his specialism. And in April '69, he was. They didn't find him for a week, and they found him finally in his own cellar. And the coroner who came, Dr. Thurston, was the same as the coroner who did the observations with when Jimi Hendrix, Keith Moon, Mama Cash, Judy Garland, and Tara Brown died. What is little known is that Papa Escher was especially known for hypnosis. He was an expert. And he did several experiments with deep sleep programming. So while a person is asleep, they put them a headset on and they induce all kinds of images and thoughts and so on. Yeah. He also had connections with Tavistock and MI5. And this lady, she's not very sympathetic. When
Right.
you ask me, this is the mother. She had blue blood, you understand? She
Yeah.
belongs to the, and she was also very familiar with the royals. Yeah.
Right.
And she was a musician and a professor hobo, and she was the teacher of George Martin. So,
Right.
so
It's all connected.
it all
Yeah.
ties together.
Mm.
And this explains why Paul McCartney, living in this house from that day, beginning of '64, started having those dreams. They were preparing him for his death and for the fact that he had to be replaced by someone else. And then that's the explanation of yesterday. All my troubles seemed so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. And then it's a kind of love song. It appears to be a kind of love song. Why she had to go, she wouldn't say. And then what's important, I said something wrong, and now, as a consequence of this
Yes.
saying, I long for yesterday. So it started from the 29th of January, and this is the important song. And when did he said something wrong? It was on this day in Sweden, together with John Lennon, that they did a ceremony wherein they signed a contract with Satan. And this is not exceptional. All the big shots of the music
Yes.
industry must sign this. Bob Dylan, in an interview, admitted it. And then they are giving everything. Also, the talent, musical talent or writing talent, and so on. And so they can be assured of fame, fortune, and girls, and everything a human would want to have, but they have to sell their souls to the devil. So they are no longer master of themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
From that moment on, the music of the Beatles and also Paul McCartney changed. And we have the LP Rubber Soul.
Hmm.
And the working title was The Magic Circle. And it's the first time that on a cover, the name of the artist is not mentioned. And rubber means plastic, means fake
Yeah.
soul. And when you look at rubber soul and you turn it, it's a heart, but it has been inverted. And it was taken by Robert Freeman, who was doing all the photos for the Beatles. It's taken from a fisheye lens. So you have a distorted, false image of the Beatles,
Yes.
who seem to be in other dimensions. And the green behind is from a rhododendron, the rose tree, which has always green leaves, but also
Yeah.
has um, uh, yeah, the magic honey.
Yes.
The fruit of the rhododendron can kill you or can induce hallucinations and so on.
Right.
And then you have a revolver in 66. Revolver. The working title was Abracadabra and Four Sides of a Circle. It was made by their friend from Hamburg and inspired by a person who also is on the cover of the Sgt. Pepper LP. And revolver. Someone has to be killed.
Yes.
And a revolving door has 4 panels. And it seems that Club L is revolving all out. And this is special. Meanwhile, in the United States, there was a compilation LP, very strange. It was launched on the 22nd of June of 66, shortly after the reactions on the quote of John Lennon that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus. It was quite people were burning records and so on. The Beatles were banned. And this was the title, The Beatles Yesterday and Today. Their career was at that moment 3 years, yesterday and today. And the cover was very controversial. It was not thought of by the Beatles themselves, but by a special photograph who worked for the elite. And this is the cover.
Oh my God.
And it's known as the Butcher album for obvious reasons. So I said, well, what the fuck is this all about?
Yeah.
And the Beatles themselves and their entourage said, well, it's a satire, it's a little bit shocking. It's our way of protesting against the war in Vietnam or the USA way of making compilations, not the original LPs, but making compilations. I said, no, there must be more. And then you come into a horror story. This is a castle situated in Belgium, in the south of Belgium. and it's called The Castle of the Mother of Darkness.
Wow.
And it's in places like that that the elite come together to do horrible things with children. They torture them, they rape them, and finally they offer them. Um, and this is what Aleister Crowley advocated for, and he said the bloody sacrifice, that there must be blood, is the most efficacious way to do black magic. And when you think about that, a human sacrifice is far more better than that of an animal.
Mm.
And the top is a white male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence. That's that gives the strongest effect. And then I want to show you some pictures of a Rothschild party. This is the decoration of their table. You know perhaps this one,
Yeah.
Aleister Cooper, who made a single, Dead Babies, and that was the cover. And this is Little Richard, one of the idols of the Beatles, one of the founders of the rock and roll, who later became a preacher. And he said, you can't drink out of God's cup and the devil's cup at the same time. And he also said other interesting things. Some rock and roll groups, the one at the top, stand around in a circle and drink cups of blood. Some get down on their knees and pray for the devil. And he said about his past, I was directed and commanded by the power of darkness, the devil, Satan. And it is he who is fighting against us, humans, in this world, and who is controlling our minds, directing our lives. And it was this number of Little Richard, Long Tall Sally, which was sung by Paul at the end of 1960 in Littleland, a place in Liverpool, where for the first time the audience went wild, went crazy. And Beatlemania was, through sounds, created. Yeah, people lost their mind, especially
Yes.
young people. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah.
And then this is another picture of this one, and you are probably familiar with this picture, Silence of the
Yes.
Lambs. Yeah,
Yes. Hannibal Lecter.
that's about cannibalism,
Mm.
eating of human flesh. So you can ask,
Oh.
what do our Beatles have to do with this? They were wearing the same mask. And you know this person,
Yes, unfortunately.
Uncle Jimmy,
Mm.
who has been playing with over 500 children,
Mm.
and who was very familiar with the royals.
Yes, he was indeed. And I
Yeah,
think that's why he was knighted. I think that he was providing a service to the royals.
and sir, as far as I'm concerned, means sick infant raper. Sir,
Oh, I like that. I think you're
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah. I think anyone that's been knighted, there's something not right there. They're doing something else. We're being lied to about that.
yeah. And here you see the Beatles with Jimmy in the middle, and here they are acting to mock us because the people are asleep, and you have this creep with another picture. So when you study this butcher cover, you see that Paul McCartney is in the middle. He's in
Mm.
the center. And we have here a head, and we have here a head
Yeah, babies.
that is decapitated.
Mm.
You see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see the other people, Beatles are showing their teeth. He's hiding something. And
Mm.
you see here an artificial teeth on his sleeve,
Yes.
and you see here his watch. It's time for him. His days are counted. Yeah. So the Beatles had to play this game. They're trying to do their best to. They were mocking with the nightmares of Paul, but yeah, they were obliged to do that. And on this, by this way, the the pornification, so making everything dirty and torturing children was introduced in the public arena, and we became somewhat familiar. First reaction is, of course, rejection, but it was placed into our minds that these things happen.
Yeah.
Of course, there was a scandal, this cover sleeve, and it was retrieved, and they made another one, Beatles Yesterday and Today. But when you look at it, are these the real Beatles or doubles? Because when you compare John Lennon left and right, Paul McCartney and so on left and right, that's very strange.
Yes.
These are not the originals.
No, I see that.
And Paul McCartney is in a very special place. It looks like he's going on a travel. And when you turn it, he's lying in a coffin. And you know perhaps their song, I'm Down. And one of the lines is, how can you laugh when I'm down to the ground? So it's his morbid dreams about, yeah, I'm going to die, I'm going to be put in a coffin. And a coffin is a very important symbol. You have one in the Great Pyramid in Egypt, in Gizeh. And you know that in Freemasons, to get accepted, you have to die a ritual death. You have to be confronted with the end to rise stronger and wiser.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the third degree is a kind of reenactment or a simulation of you
Yeah.
attending your own funeral, really.
Yeah. So by the end of 65, strange thing happened. It was like someone knocking at his door. It's known as the moped accident. And the moped is a kind of motorcycling, a moped. And what happened was on the Sunday after what's called it, Christmas,
Yeah.
something happened to him. And this picture was taken. Something happened to him on his lips and on his left eyebrow. I said something wrong. They said, well, he fell off his moped, or he had a car accident or something. But I think something else happened. They said in the papers it was no fight. When you read that, you can understand it was a fight. He was beaten.
Yeah.
And he was beaten as a kind of warning by the people of MI5. This is a picture of Charles Henry Maxwell, who is a legendary super spy, an undercover agent, and he is probably the figure that James Bond was derived from. Yeah. And all the secret services, the deep state, they are all into the occult and the satanical.
Yeah.
This is the Mossad, MI5. Aleister Crowley was working for MI5. He was a secret agent for them. And we know that Paul McCartney in this period was playing a dangerous game. Mark Lane was the first who came out to doubt the official story of the murder of JFK. And he gave lectures, and he also wrote a book. And Paul McCartney was offering to write the music for a documentary on that subject. Paul McCartney was also speaking critically about the war in Vietnam and in support of Martin Luther King. And in an interview, he said, well, one day my children are going to ask me what I did with my life, and I can't just answer that I was a Beatle. So
Right.
he was becoming critical.
Mm.
And why Paul? Why was Paul taken out? With every group, one member has to be sacrificed. But with the Rolling Stones, it was Dave Jones. With Who, it was Keith Moon. I think also Led Zeppelin, all major groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because he was the cute one, they always sacrifice the cute one. And the occult satanic meaning of this boat accident, which occurred on the 22nd of December, when you count till the 11th of September of the
Mm.
year after, you have 260 days. That's 1 year in the Maya calendar. It's also the period of being pregnant.
Right.
So it was a warning of Club L to make him clear time is running out and you have to be concentrate on your replacement. It was also the preparation of him ritually as a corpse and the foreshadowing of what was to happen with his pretty baby face. Because in this accident, he was decapitated and yeah, we don't know for sure what really happened, but yeah, they worked specifically on his face. And in this butcher photo session, other pictures were taken. So we know that the people of Club L, they hate God, they hate Christ, the Christ figure, and the Christ message, and they laugh at him and his death on the cross. This is a quote from Aleister Crowley: "To hell with Christianity! I want blasphemy, murder, rape, revolution, anything bad. And with my hawk's head, I pick at the eyes of Jesus as he hangs upon the cross." And so the
Uh,
Beatles had to play this game. Here they invert the cross, and their press officer said, "Well, I'm not a saint, but the Beatles, they shock me with their antichrist attitude. It is as if they founded a new religion." And it was in their first meeting with George Martin that he said, "The media, BBC and so on, will make you superstars to overthrow Christianity. Are you prepared to let go of your Christian heritage?" And so they did. This is a quote from Paul 63. This is a quote from the present Paul. And this is the famous quote of John Lennon: "Christianity will go. Club L wants to so. It will vanish and shrink. I need not argue about it. I'm right, and I will be proven right. We are more popular than Jesus now." Of course, the media played the role of being yeah, upset, but that's only show.
yes. Yes.
They, yeah. So the reaction was big, especially in America. Yeah. And then on the 29th of August of 66, they had their last performance in San Francisco. And then it went black. For several months, the Beatles, who were every day on the cover of every newspaper and magazine and in the radio and the television, they were disappeared for months. And it lasted until the 1st of June of the next year. So we are talking about 7, 8 months. Nothing was shown about the Beatles. And of course, then we have this thing that Paul is dead. It happened on the 11th of September. And then I want to show you a short clip.
Sure.
It was taken in September of 65, at the moment when the real Paul McCartney was still alive. In the Ed Sullivan Show, yes.
Okay.
Oh, I believe in yesterday.
Thank you, Paul. I was just like him. The next song we'd like to sing, I was just like him. I was just like him. I was just like him.
So this was not Paul McCartney who was saying
Wow.
Yesterday. And this is another clip. And you see a second John Lennon coming on. You see? He looks very much like the real John Lennon.
What? I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So they all had doubles. And on this second cover of the Beatles Yesterday and Today, it was doubles who were put on the sleeve.
Oh God.
Okay, so these are all pictures. And when you ask a child, is this the same person? A child will say, no, these are different persons. They look somewhat similar, but they are different.
Mm.
But we have been presented as all pictures of Paul McCartney. And you know that the big shots on the scene of the world, we are not always seeing the original.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a classic one, isn't he? Putin. His skull's completely changed shape.
Yeah. Also, Trump, when he was in Holland, normally I think he's 1 meter 88, and when he was shaking the hands of the king of the Netherlands, he was shorter. Normally, you would have to look down on the king. So it was a double of Trump. Yeah. So, but when you ask me the question, what real evidence do you have that Paul is died and is not the real? These are the forensic facts. He looks like him, but when you are looking closely, he has other ears, eyes, nose, teeth, lips, eyebrows, the form of his head, the split in his head, in his hair is different. When you study his voice, the voice of yesterday is not the same voice as of Hey Jude. And there has been court cases and other incidents where it was found that the DNA and the fingerprint of the present Paul is not the same as the original. And the present Paul has learned to play left-handed and to sign left-handed. But when you really look at it, and in the context of court cases, it was done. it was proven that it was not done by someone who is naturally right-handed. And when you look at the real Paul McCartney, he's playing bass without having to look at the setting of his fingers. And the present Paul McCartney has to be concentrated, because it's not easy to go from right to left. Yeah. And especially John, Paul, and George were had the equal height, and then from that moment on, Paul McCartney was a head taller. And here you have a picture of the real Paul McCartney with his sweetheart Jane Asher, and this is a picture of 68. He looks upon him, above her. Yeah. So this is the evidence, and everyone has to be the judge himself. And if it looks like a duck, and it walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, and someone says, no, no, you're wrong, it's a donkey.
Yeah.
When you look at this date and you count every cipher, you come to 33. So 9/11 is very important. This one we have had. It was dedicated to my children and the biological Paul.
Wow.
And I can't really put my finger to it, but there must have been some kind of download of the memories of the real Paul McCartney to the present Paul McCartney. Because you can't deny that he has very detailed memories of his childhood and of the starting of the Beatles and getting together with John Lennon and so on. Yeah.
Well, this is something that a company in Canada called Clonaid that I've been investigating offer. They call it the Lazarus Project, and it is memory transfer. It's a service they provide.
And who are they?
Clonaid are a human cloning business in Canada, and they will clone you. So if you're dying or you want to have children and can't, they'll clone you.
Oh, I'll take note. Clonaid.
Yeah, I've done I wrote a chapter about them in my latest book, and I've done a deep dive into them. And interestingly, I can't access their website through my Wi-Fi provider, my broadband provider. I have to do it through my phone. So it is restricted. But yeah, originally they were cloning pets. So for $50,000, they will clone your pets. And the president of Argentina has had 4 dogs cloned by them, but they've been cloning people for some time, for a very long time. And he started, the founder of the business started his own religion, his own movement. He follows the Elohim, and his name is Claude Verion. And he now calls himself Rael, and it's the Raelian movement. And he's a French former racing car driver.
And you mentioned the name, the Elohim?
Yeah.
Elohim. That's
Absolutely.
the name of the fallen angels, the watchers.
Yeah, or the Anunnaki, or
the Nephilim. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's very. So they can transfer what you have as thoughts, memories, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you must send me this book. I must have it.
Yes. Yes, I will gladly.
Yeah. So what happened? Paul left the studio with his Aston Martin. It was raining. He picked up someone who was lifting, a girl. She was on her way to Liso. It was Donna. So the song Lady McDonough is about that. It was almost 12 o'clock. And he didn't see a red light. He crashed against a lorry and against a pole. Yeah. And both were dead, and his head was very heavily damaged and decapitated. And it was in this place.
Yeah.
And in their film Magical Mystery Tour, they pass by this place, and you hear in the background a car who is pushing on the who is pushing on the on to stop the car. How do you call that? To
Break.
the brakes. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pushing the brakes. Yeah. Yeah. The next day, a top Freemason gave order to George Martin for the replacement, who was his nephew Billy, who already had been with Brian Epstein, the manager. They go to the father of Paul McCartney, who agrees. He also belonged to the Freemasonry. On Wednesday, they had an appointment in Paris to speak to John Lennon. And they said, well, here's the deal. No more silly love songs. We have to create a new sound. And the Beatles will from now on be my band. I will be the leader, not John Lennon anymore. And John Lennon agreed. I think he was forced. I think he was, couldn't resist. And on Sunday, Billy also met George and Ringo. And okay, the deal was made. Then they had to win time and to distract the attention. It was then that the Monkees were launched. There was a short press conference of Brian Epstein to say Paul didn't leave, but the Beatles will never have gigs anymore. And they couldn't have because Paul was much taller.
Yeah.
So it would have been noticed. And they released an LP, then a collection of oldies. It's the first album with clues that Paul is dead as a fact, and a presentation of the new guy with the Beatles, who were the oldies. And here you see them. You see Paul McCartney in the background, who is vanishing. And here you have the cover. You see this long guy with hippie clothes and so on. You see this car with the three Beatles, with the four Beatles, as a matter of fact, and then the long winding road. There's much to say about that. So this is his name, William Wallace Shepard. He has also aliases. He was born on the 9th of September. That's why 9 is such an important number 9 on the white double LP. He was the 22nd generation of William Wallace Braveheart, who is very known in Scotland. That's why on the number plate of the Volkswagen on the Abbey Road LP, there is 29. He was the 29th generation. And I strongly suspect that Aleister Crowley is his biological father. Yeah.
Oh my God.
He must have been submitted to a trauma-based mind control programming, the Monarch program, from very early age, 3 years old. And he had his training, according to the memoirs of Billy Shears, by Father Aleister Crowley. And you can interpret father as a kind of priest or the real father. Yeah, I think it's real father.
Yeah.
And then by the Uncle Charlie, the Freemason, who said to Epstein and George Martin, this one will replace Paul McCartney. It has been decided. And he was perfect because he was perfectly educated musically. He was very, he could play all instruments. He was the man with 1,000 voices. He could do all kind of impersonifications. And he was also involved as a studio musician, also for the Beatles. Because as I said, when the Beatles entered the studio, all the songs were written, all the instruments were played. The only thing they had to do was to sing, to bring their voice in. And there's very strong evidence that this Billy Shears, William Wallace, was part of the group who was doing the Beatle music. He had a band, Billy Pepper and the Pepper Dots, Sergeant Pepper LP, the
Yeah.
Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, and the Diplomats, where Danny Lane was also involved. And they knew each other from Liverpool and from London from the beginning. Yeah. So Billy was really perfect. He also was from the right family, with blue blood. He had the right musical papers. He was well prepared, and he had a lot of experience as an actor, as a performer. And to make him look like it was Operation Transformation. They did all kind of things during those months.
Yeah.
They had all the talks with his family, so everyone was in the know and was complying. They taught him to play and write from right to left. He also had a spiritual contact with Biopol. Thank you for the fact that you confirmed that it's possible to bring two souls in connection. And on the 24th of November 66, it was the first time they came together in the Abbey Road studio to prepare Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane. And so, is this an urban myth or the greatest hoax? Maybe it's not the real greatest, because the coronavirus is also great, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
But they really did a great job. He didn't die, he was murdered. And to complete, when did John Lennon meet Yoko Ono? It was on 9/11. In the Indica Gallery, which was owned by Paul McCartney, and it was he who suggested to have an exposition of this Japanese avant-garde artist. And it was he who introduced her to John Lennon as his handler.
Right.
Like he was the handler of the Beatles. He was, It was all thanks to Paul. Yoko lived in New York, in a suburb, notice L,
Yeah.
Scarsdale. And it was also there where Linda lived. What are the odds that the women of the two famous Beatles came from the same place? And Eastman was the name, but the real name was Epstein. So she was also Jewish, of the Khazar, the Ashkenazi Jewish. Yeah. So this is a quartet, a quartel. That's 100% the elite. Yeah.
Yeah.
And from Pepper on, there are many clues of Paul is dead in texts, in covers, in the music. They did this because the Beatles were frustrated, and also because the elite has the obligation to show it to us.
Yes.
To make it clear what they are doing, and especially introducing sounds and words that are played backwards.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a common practice, and Aleister Crowley talks about it. And it has been confirmed by all the major players. There are more than 400 clues. The top 5 is I Buried Paul in Strawberry Fields. Paul is Dead Man, Miss Him, Miss Him. Number 9 backwards is Turn Me On, Dead Man, Turn Me On, Dead Man, because they were frustrated, they were traumatized by what has been happened, and they wanted to get in contact with their friend Paul. Yeah.
Mm.
There are many times they said things talking to Paul McCartney as to Bill. In the film, he was introduced as, William.
Right.
On remembrance of George Harrison, his widow said, "Hello, Billy," when he arrived. And in an interview, Paul said, "I joined the Beatles as an already set up affair." So, yeah. So these people have made clear that they have studied the voices. They said the voice of yesterday and Hey Jude don't match. And they published this in a magazine on this date. And 2 days later, Paul McCartney appeared in the famous David Letterman show. And there he showed that he is very adversed in the masterful speaking, which means telling without really telling. And it's really worth it to look at this clip.
In the toward the end of the '60s, is that when the rumors about you being dead surfaced? Do you remember that? Do you remember how that started? What were your feelings about that?
What happened? Yeah, my feelings. What happened was we did a cover for a record called Abbey Road, and even the cover gets applause. And the idea was to walk across the crossing, and I showed up that day with sandals, flip-flops, and so it was so hot, and I kicked them off and walked across barefooted. So this started some rumor that because he was barefooted, he's dead. I couldn't see the connection myself.
No, I don't. It seems like a long, slow, difficult death. Being barefooted will kill you.
Scorched feet.
And how do you manage something like that? Because it was a global rumor, and
yeah. I mean, I just laughed at it and knew it was just because of the fame and the craziness. It was an American DJ, so you guys are to blame.
Yeah.
Not you personally, but no, the thing is, I just laughed it off, but it was a little bit strange because people did start looking at me like, is it him or a very good double?
Well, that was the idea. That was the other part of it, that there was a guy who looked like you taking your place.
No, well, this is him.
Yeah. Or is it?
Well, I think you realize this is an interview that is prepared, that is rehearsed.
Yeah.
And that year it should have been given the Oscar of Best Actor and all-time Best Liar. And you can tell it when someone is lying, because when they're making this move on your nose, it's a signal that you are not telling the truth. And when he said, well, on this day, when we made the cover photo for Abbey Road, it was so hot. When you do your research, it was 70 degrees.
Oh.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think maybe here we could come to a conclusion.
Yes.
I have lots of other information, but okay. I think that for now we can end it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is it all right to turn the slides up, the screen share off for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Peter?
Yeah.
Thank you. I found this absolutely fascinating, and I grew up with the Beatles because my parents were huge fans, my mum more so. And she's getting old now. She's not really someone that watches YouTube. But I'm going to get her to watch this because I think it's important. Um,
But
sorry.
you have to be careful because you know your mother, but most people, and certainly when they reach a certain age, don't want to be confronted with the real truth.
Yes, she's read both of my books, and I actually told her not to read the first one. I actually said to her, "I'd like you to have this
Yeah.
because I'm your son, and I would like you to keep it, but I don't want you to read it because it's about Tartaria, what really happened in the First and Second World Wars, the Napoleonic Wars, and the previous civilization that was wiped off the map. It's quite dark, and I don't want you having nightmares, so please
Yeah.
don't read it." She read it. She read it in
Oh,
3 days, and I warned her, but fortunately, I don't think it all went in because she often says to me, "Oh, I was watching the news last night." I said, "Mum, you read my book. You know you're not supposed to watch the news. You mustn't even talk about the news." "Oh, and I saw this thing the other day about Churchill. Oh, what a great man he was." I said, "He was a bloody warmonger. What? You didn't read my book." So actually, I don't think it will register. She's at that kind of stage where a lot of things go in, but they don't do an awful lot in there.
yeah.
But I think she'd find this interesting, and I think she'd be more likely to watch it because she was such a huge fan. And I've got her more aware of conspiracies now. So this little sort of complex where she lives, she went round in 2020 and told everybody not to have the medical intervention.
Oh,
So
great.
she's done some good work, and I was really proud of her for doing that. I wonder, Peter, if you would like to come back on again at some point, and we could sort of look more closely into Aleister Crowley and also the Tavistock Institute.
Oh, yes, Aleister Crowley. Yes, I got to know him because I also made a presentation on the occult aspects of 9/11, and maybe I can cover that partly because what happened that day was very well scripted, and
Mm,
the whole scene in the school with George Bush and so on, it all has a meaning, and it
mm,
was also very precisely timed. The
yes.
moment when he was in the class and the children were saying certain lines, it was at that moment that the so-called planes flew into the buildings, the Twin Towers.
Well, I thought for some time that the planes didn't exist, that it was
Oh,
CGI.
CGI, yeah, sure.
But there's a very sort of well-known and respected podcaster over here. They call him allegedly Dave, and he's a very good friend of a very good friend of mine. So he's a mutual friend, if you like. And he used to work in IT. He was a computer kind of analyst and expert. He was working in the Twin Towers, and he was outside the building, quite some distance away, when the first plane hit, and he said he saw it. He actually saw it, and this is a man who speaks out. Um, so
Okay, but they have the technique to project an image so that you have the impression with the sound. They can also create the sound of an airplane so that you have the impression that's really physically an airplane that is flying in. But people who were, it depends on where you were standing.
mm,
So I think the people who were really in the neighborhood of the Twin Towers saw it, but people who were looking from a distance didn't see the effect,
yeah,
which confirms that it was only the impression that was created on the moment for the people who were present, and which was created via the television footage. Because at a
right,
certain moment, you see when the second tower, the south tower, is flown in, all of a sudden an airplane comes in, flies into the building, and leaves the building with the front undamaged. So this is definitely absolutely not possible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you see, they had layers. See, you had the layer of the building, and they put then an airplane, and it's only a fraction of a second, but yeah, things are not right that you get it. And it was immediately taken away from the internet, but someone had already taken a download. Yeah.
That's the one good thing, isn't it? That
Yeah.
for all of the bad things about social media and the internet, the speed in which we can share information, and by the time they remove something, 100 other people or 1,000 other people have already shared it and saved it. So
Yeah.
we're ahead of them a little bit in that respect.
Yeah, it's also when you think about the most recent show, the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Hmm.
I made a little text just to have fun of 15 pages. It's when you study the figures and the names and the whole script, and when you look at the footage, it's all a show. It was no real blood. It was no real bullet who came in. It was all scripted. It was a show set up, and most of the people who were present were paid actors. When you hear this for the first time, you say, this can't be possible. When you, Ole Damagaard, for instance, is one of my idols, my heroes. He does his research very thoroughly, and he says, well, it's all scripted, and it's all done by the Secret Service. And there exist companies where you can, who you can hire to fake a certain event. And of course, Hollywood and the film industry can also create all kinds of illusions, all kinds of illusions. Yeah.
Yeah, I often remind people that it's called Hollywood after the tree and the wood that is used to make magic wands. Magic wands are made from the wood from a holly tree. It's
Yeah.
there for everyone in plain sight, but
it's magic.
It is
It's
an
cheeky
illusion.
illusion. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Peter. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
This is, this is the first interview where I've hardly said anything at all.
I'm sorry.
No, because I was just taking it all in. I've been writing notes the whole time you've been talking. I don't do that. This has blown my mind. I knew about Billy Spears, but I didn't know the depth of the planning and the connection between Aleister Crowley. I had no idea. And the one thing I'm going to share with people on Facebook is the Yesterday and Today album, The Butcher. I think people need to see that. That is showing child sacrifice. It's there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Peter, thank you so much.
But anyway, their music is really top. And I still
agree.
enjoy the music because it's high quality, and also because it remembers my youth and the great days I could enjoy. So it's not all black. It's yeah.
I think if you know what's going on and what's behind it all, and you understand that, then you can separate it. But
Yeah.
it's when you don't and it's subliminal that I think that the danger lies.
Okay.
But, thank you again, Peter. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I've really enjoyed this, and I will send you a link when it's up on YouTube. I shall pop it up tonight.
At your service, and please send me all the books you have written.
I will. Yes, if you want to email me your address,
yeah,
I will send them out next week for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Take care, and bye bye for now.
Bye.